This is the DeepSpace Seeker35. It's a 3.5 inch or 3.6 inch freestyle beast, and I'm super excited about this one because this drone is completely different than the other 3.5 inch drones I've flown. Now, usually a 3.5 inch aims at that 250 gram weight limit, which means smaller motors and smaller batteries, and they fly like a micro. But with the Seeker35, DeepSpace just said, forget about 250 grams, we're not sacrificing performance to save weight, and it's got massive 2006 motors, which give you much more raw power. So it's much better for freestyle. And it's got a built-in XT60, not an XT30 like we usually see on 3.5 inch drones, because the Seeker35 uses huge 6S batteries, so it feels and flies much more like a 5 inch drone. This drone weighs in at about 280 grams without a battery, and with this much power and weight, it's not the quietest drone out there. Here's what it sounds like. And here's what it sounds like when I'm out at the flying spot.
Here we are low on the throttle, and if I punch it out, that's what it sounds like.
But how does this quad actually fly? And if it's a 3.5 inch that's not under 250 grams, who is this drone for? Let's find out. You can get the Seeker35 in different configurations. True X is gonna be better for freestyle flying, and the Deadcat will be better for filming because you won't see props in view of your DJI O4 Pro camera. If you plan to use an action camera like the Osmo Nano, it won't really matter because that camera will sit so much higher that you won't see props in view anyway. I got the Deadcat version with ELRS, and I did install my own DJI O4 Pro system. Without a VTX, the drone weighs in at 243.8 grams. With my DJI O4 Pro installed, it weighs 277.8 grams. If I add an ND filter, brings it up to 278.3 grams. And if I add a DJI Osmo Nano with the hardware I need to mount it, it weighs 347.9 grams. With an 1100 milliamp 6S battery, it weighs 481.5 grams. With a 1350 milliamp 6S battery, it weighs 495.8 grams. And with a 1500 milliamp 6S battery, it weighs 543.5 grams. We do have a built-in XT60 connector right here. Notice that it's been moved all the way to the back to give you as much space as possible to mount batteries. I measure about 3.5 inches or about 9 centimeters of usable battery space. When we talk about micros, people say things like, it flies like a 5 inch to tell you how good it is. Well, this one actually does thanks to that massive power system. It hovers between 20 to 25% throttle depending on how big your battery is, and it's insanely fast. Some overpowered drones feel like they're out of control, but the Seeker35 really doesn't. It feels smooth and stable and easy to control on the stock tune. Our camera cage is made from 2 solid aluminum plates, and they have been CNC'd on the side to give us a little bit of bling. It does provide good protection for the DJI O4 Pro camera, and if I put it on the side like that, you can see that it will absorb impacts in a crash. It does use silicone inserts to prevent jello in your O4 Pro footage, and those silicone inserts provide us with a little bit of space to use ND filters. This mount has plenty of camera tilt, and you can tilt the camera all the way up to about 40 degrees, and you can tilt it all the way down to about 5 degrees. Our motors are the DeepSpace Aether 2006 2550 kV, and these motors are huge for a drone this size. Our props are the Gemfan 3630s. These are 3.6 inch props, so technically this is a 3.6 inch drone, not a 3.5 inch drone. This motor and prop combination is insanely powerful for a drone this size, and it's why this drone really wants some heavy 6S batteries. These side plates are made of molded plastic, and they make the quad look so much more finished, and they protect your electronics from dirt and grass, and they give you something solid to grab onto. We do get a set of black side plates if you prefer that stealth black look. This drone is using a dual board 20x20 stack, not an all-in-one board like we see in most other 3.5-inch drones. It does have an F722 flight controller and a 40 amp BL Heli 32 ESC. We do have a 470 microfarad 35 volt capacitor. The frame on the Seeker35 is pretty beefy, as you'd expect with this power system. The arms are 4 millimeters thick. The top plate is 2 millimeters, the bottom plate is 2 millimeters, and this middle plate is just a little bit thicker. I believe that's 2.5 millimeters. We do have a USB-C port for our flight controller right in front of the front left arm, and that's super handy because these side plates do block our access to the flight controller. If you get the X version of this drone, you will get another extension in the box because the arm will block you from plugging in a normal USB cable. On the bottom, we do have a buzzer mounted right into the frame. In the back, we have this removable hatch that holds our receiver. It's not TPU. It's either molded plastic or MJF printed, and it feels very premium, and it's a great design because it protects the receiver while still giving you quick access if you need it. It has some cutouts so you can see the status lights on your receiver, and it's an elegant solution to that problem of space and where to mount a receiver on a tiny drone like this. I did something similar on my Flyfish RC Atlas 4 build because there was literally nowhere else to put the receiver. We do have 3D prints all around. The quality's fine, and one thing that I really like is that whenever a screw goes into TPU, they use these wide-headed screws so they don't pull through. A lot of companies don't bother to do this. It's a small detail, but I really appreciate it because your screws could pull through that soft TPU material in a crash. These 3D printed arm bumpers or landing feet also have these wide-headed screws. Back here we've got a TPU mount for our receiver antenna, which does hold it away from the carbon. The mount for our O4 Pro antennas does have some extra holes for an SMA antenna or a single antenna setup like DJI O3 or Walk Snail. In the front we have a TPU bumper down here, which should give your O4 Pro camera a little bit of protection from head-on crashes. On top we have a TPU print that protects the camera from above. It holds a GPS unit and it has a built-in action camera mount. The only downside about having a camera mount built in like this is that it's unnecessary space and weight if you never plan to run an action camera. I would have liked to have seen an extra print in the box without this GoPro mount, which would save a few grams and give us more space for batteries. Our GPS is installed on the underside of this mount where it's nice and protected. The idea of a front-mounted GPS like this is that supposedly it reduces interference by moving it away from the VTX antennas. But in my experience, mounting the GPS in the front actually causes more interference, at least with quads running a DJI O4 Pro. And GPS performance on this quad is fine, but it's not amazing.
GPS reception on this quad hasn't been the best, but 10 satellites, 11 satellites, that's plenty for GPS rescue to work. Let's take it over here and do a GPS rescue test. About 200 feet, there we go. GPS rescue's on, turns around, coming back to me. And not bad, it's not bobbing around too much. It seems okay. I'm gonna take over manual control now. I don't need to have the drone land itself. I just like to have that extra degree of safety in case I lose connection or fail safe. It's got loads of power, but it does feel different from a 5-inch because it doesn't have the weight and an inertia that a 5-inch does. It has all the power of a 5-inch, but not the same amount of weight and inertia. So it does kind of floats a little bit more, if that makes any sense. It does feel a little bit different. But where this quad really shines for me is in these areas that are kind of tight spots, like if you want to rip around at a park or something where you might not have as much space. That's what this drone is good for so far. It's just a ton of fun to fly with all the power you could want. And it's nimble, maneuverable. In a tight space like this, I can zip in between these trees and it's just a ton of fun. I mean, I can do it with a 5-inch too. This spot has enough space where you can rip around with a 5-inch also, but when you're limited on space, the 3.5 inch might be a better choice for some people at least. Down to 3.62. I am flying the 1100 milliamp 6S right here. I've got a 1350 and a 1500 to fly, which I'll put on in just a second. I'm just doing my maiden flight to get an idea of what this drone feels like. And so far, it's just a blast to fly. All right, you guys, this time I'm flying my Speedy Pizza Pro 1350, which is a little bit of a heavier battery, and it does feel a little bit different with more weight. It feels more dialed in and a little bit closer to a real freestyle drone, if that makes sense. It has more inertia, and it goes where I send it. It feels less floaty, if that makes sense to you guys, but I actually like it better. I'm kind of surprised because I thought that a lighter pack would do better, because that's how it is usually on most of my other 3.5 inch drones, which have smaller, lighter motors, and I fly much lighter 4S batteries. I feel like the lighter the battery, the better the drone flies, but it's not really the case, and hard to talk and fly at the same time. But it's not really the case with this drone, because I think the motors are just so huge that they want that extra weight. I mean, these 2006 motors you could put these on a 5 inch. We run 2207s on a 5 inch, but still, these are way bigger than you normally see on 3.5 inch props. So the drone really does want bigger batteries, I think. So far, I am having a blast flying this drone. It feels great. I mean, absolutely dialed in. If you want to rip some freestyle and maybe your space isn't big enough for a 5 inch, this might be a great option, because I'm having a blast flying this thing. The only reason I wouldn't recommend this drone over a 5 inch, let's say you have a larger space and you really need to cover some distance, like you really need to get a kilometer out to, I don't know, film a mountaintop or something, or let's say I wanted to go film that waterfall over there. You really need to be able to, that's probably 700 yards or so, and the upper one, see that upper one, the second one on the mountain, that's over a kilometer. That's probably 900 yards, maybe a kilometer away. And 3.5 inch props would be real small to go that sort of distance. I could probably do it, but I wouldn't feel that comfortable. I'd feel like I'm pushing it to its absolute limit. So 5 inch props really give you a lot more reach and endurance if that's important to you. That's not to say more flight time necessarily, because I notice on this drone, I'm getting some great flight times. Look at my amp draw that I've got over there, and assuming it's calibrated correctly, it's a lot lower than what it would be on a 5 inch drone. And the proof of that is really when I land and I grab that battery, even when I fly it down a little lower than I should, it might be a little bit warm, but it's not hot. It's not like, you know, after I fly my 5 inch and pull that battery off and the battery's just begging for mercy, it's like super hot. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels, you know, maybe a little bit warm, but basically cool to the touch. And that's from that lower amp draw. So if I were to slow it around and just cruise like this, see how low I get the amp draw? I wonder if I could get some really long flight times if I were to do an endurance test. I mean, that's not how I normally fly. That's not like real world flying conditions for me, but keeping some throttle discipline and just going slow like this, I bet I could get some crazy long flight times. But who wants to do that? Let's rip. Ripping around is a little bit more fun. Go over to these treetops here. When I toss the drone around and do some quick yaw movements, it just feels like, I don't know, almost like as if the latency were lower. I mean, I know it's not. It's the same DJI O4 Pro system that I always fly, but the drone responds faster. I think those smaller props just like, I don't know, they spin up faster and react faster to your stick inputs as if you were flying a lower latency system. Oh shit, I did it again. Flew my battery down too low. I start talking and then I forget what I'm doing. All right, you guys, now I've got my 1500 milliamp pack on, and now we've got 14, 15 satellites. So our satellite lock is getting better as the day goes on. And, oh, it already feels a little bit different. I don't know if it's no, it's not my imagination. This drone feels better with heavier packs. I swear it does. It felt floaty like a toothpick with a lighter weight pack on, and now I'm running a 1500 milliamp pack, which is the limit that DeepSpace recommends with this drone, but it feels actually better. It feels closer to a 5-inch. Just having more weight, I don't know, what makes it feel more locked in. I like the way this drone flies a lot better with a heavier 1500 milliamp pack, and that's a surprise to me. I'm used to thinking that lighter packs fly better, and that's usually the case, but it's not really the case with this drone. A heavier pack actually feels better. So that's good to know. Oh, I'm having a great time flying this drone. This is really fun. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is a ton of fun. I am loving this little ripper. It is an absolute blast to fly. Haven't crashed yet, not planning on it. Brand new drone, got a new O4 Pro system in there, and those things, man, those are hard to get right now. I want to give you guys a quick noise test to give you an idea of what this drone sounds like. Here we are low in the throttle, and if I punch it out, that's what it sounds like. Going down this road, that's a lot of interference with these trees and walls and whatnot between me and the drone, and we're hanging in there just fine. Our connection with that DJI O4 Pro and our ELRS system is fine. Say hi to the llamas. Got some llamas cutting the grass, and they are looking at me. They are not happy. Trying to stay away from the llamas. Almost hit a power cable. There we go.
All right, you guys, I'm gonna sum up my opinions on the Seeker35 by just saying that this drone is pure fun. It's an absolute blast to fly. It's super powerful. It's really happy with loads of weight, so you can use the same batteries you might already have for your 5-inch drone, and you can carry an action camera if you want to. I do appreciate having GPS built in. The build quality is great, and like all the deep space drones, it's got loads of little design innovations and quality of life features that make the drone easier to tune and work on. But this is a 3.5-inch drone that isn't even close to being under 250 grams, so who is this drone for? The Seeker35 would be an ideal freestyle rig or just fun flyer if you need something for smaller spaces, like a construction site or your local park, or a spot where the agility and responsiveness of these 3.6-inch props would give you an advantage over a 5-inch drone. But if you have to be under 250 grams to fly under the rules where you live, then you might want to have a look at a lighter weight 3.5-inch drone like the Oasis Flight 35 or the Darwin Baby Ape 3 3.5-inch. Both of these drones have 3.5-inch props and can be under 250 grams with the right battery. What do you guys think of the Seeker35 and this massive power system? If you've flown one, let me know what you think about it. Or if you're just looking at the Seeker35, let me know what else you're comparing it to. All right, that'll do it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next video.